So my buddy Frank was like, he's a DJ, and he was asking me for. He says, "Hey, do you have any 21s that use a 5-inch voice coil?" And I was like, "No, you got to go to China for that." And a lot of people don't know how to use Alibaba. So basically, what you want to do is, the requirements may have changed now that Trump has rolled back some of the Biden rules about requiring not only an LLC, but requiring an LLC with like proof of who owns or controls the LLC. And so, but you should have an LLC anyway for importing. But basically have an LLC and then sign up for Alibaba. Now, if you want to just buy onesie, twosie small stuff, you can just go through AliExpress. AliExpress is more of like a retail version of a lot of this stuff. But if you're going to do something big like this, it's actually cheaper to do samples through Alibaba than it is to buy retail. And also, something like this retail would probably be anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000. And so I was making some suggestions. All I did was go to Alibaba and I put in 5-inch voice coil Neo subwoofer, and it gave me some results. This is the Neo can. This looks very broad. This is like a nice big one. Most of them look like this from a lot of the PA vendors. A lot of the car subwoofer ones look like this. And I had sent this to him first, which was that sometimes what you can do is contact a vendor like this, which is what I did. I haven't contacted them yet, but I went to their website and I looked at the specs on this one. So here it is. Let me just show you the little pictures. So that's what the side view is. Front view, again, you can change the cone and the frame to be a 21-inch, and they can put any bolt hole pattern on here. Now, this looks great and everything like that for a 12. A lot of guys get really excited. They go, "Oh, a 12 with a big beefy motor." This is just a mid-bass. That's all it is. It's just a real beefy mid-bass the way that it's built. The coil is actually much too light, and you can see that here in the response. Let me hold that there. There we go. So this is the pass band, and so this should be moved down 1 octave. You can see this is the 100 hertz. So this whole thing should be moved down about like that. And so the way that you do that is have a lot of electricity and also have a lot of moving mass. And so, and I had made this suggestion to him, and it was just too much for him. He doesn't want to think that much about it. And so then I had looked on, and I said, well, I looked down a little bit, and they have this old one, this type of motor. This is the column type. This might work better because basically you just have to tell them how big you want the pole, and then how big you want the top plate to be, the opening. And then I suggested that he use Lord of Bass as the part supplier, because you can't normally go back. The speaker company wants you to buy lots and lots of subwoofers, but they will do some samples, like 1 or 2, and you're just buying the motor and maybe the frame. And so I suggest building it around one of or both of these coils, if this is what you want, so that way you can use Lord of Bass as your parts vendor instead of China. And then if you're able to let's see, there we go. So that's a better look at the design. Again, this is just a sample. It's just a T yoke, and then these are your bars of Neo. This one actually uses a radial type, which I don't agree with. I think the columns, you can do round columns, you can do whatever columns. These are just steel, but you can put the Neo in here like that as part of the column, and then I like it to be on the outside, away from the voice coil, so that you can also make this a larger diameter. In fact, if you're doing a 21, I would go out to about 18 inches on the plate to space that Neo clearly away from the coil, so that there's plenty of room for air convection in between the coil and the Neo, to keep that as cool as possible. Yeah, and then you can do a simple adapter like I have done to make it removable. So some people don't want it to be removable. I think that's an obvious choice. Again, the way that I build loudspeakers is different than other people. Oh, that's my mail. So, but I was just showing you, I just wanted to show you this. It's actually not that hard, but what you want to do is be very, very specific about what you want. Don't worry about the pricing too much. That really doesn't matter because you're going to modify all of this. But basically you want to have a nice drawing, a 2D drawing of what each part looks like. And it helps if you already have your Neo size picked out, and you got to do your research with a Neo vendor. And now they're going to source their own stuff, so you're not going to save any money by pointing them to a vendor. So they already have their sources and they can source it out. But when you go with a vendor that already provides a product like this and you're just making small modifications to it, it can help with the process. Now, build time for something like that is going to be at least probably right around 6 months, just because they're busy and they just signed the tariffs to drop to kick the can down the road another, I think it's 90 days on tariffs to kind of stimulate the economy a bit in both China and America, and then until they finally get an agreement in the soil. But yeah, this is a good project for somebody that wants to do that. And then this is, like I said, you don't have to do this many columns either. So that's another thing you can do. But anyways, I just wanted to show you guys a way to use Alibaba. Now, when you talk to some of these people, they're not going to be very smart. They're just the salespeople. What you really want to do is talk to an engineer and then discuss things. Now, the problem is a lot of their engineers are grad students that have graduated here and then moved to there. And so they're kind of cocky because in China, they're really a big deal. And so if you don't know exactly what you want, they're going to try to force you to do something like this with a thin voice coil and that kind of bullshit. And that's fine for PA stuff, for like vocals, for mid bass and stuff like that, but not for like infrasonic shit. And so a lot of times the engineer will, sort of hold you in disdain for wanting to make, such a inefficient driver, but that's the whole point that you're trying to do. And there's a huge disconnect between you, the fat, lazy white American, versus the, elite young Chinese engineering, engineer. He's like a certified engineer, licensed engineer. So, and again, it's a weird thing with status that I don't like to play in, but I have connections already where I can do something like this. But I was showing Frank how to do this. Now, if Frank wants me to do all the legwork and the coordination, that's going to cost him. But for something like that, what I would do is I would basically tool it up for production on. For me, I would do, smallest I would do is probably a 15, 15s, 18s, 21s, and 24s. And then mine would be a removable top assembly. And then basically I would import at least 50, if not 100 of the motors. And then we could build the rest here using loader base parts. Or if we have enough money, we can import, 100 of each frame. And then the rest of the soft parts are all pretty simple to acquire. So, but I'm going to go ahead and upload this. I just wanted to give you guys a little treat on how to use Alibaba. Don't be afraid to make mistakes on Alibaba. It helps if you just imagine more things than what is just in front of you, because they make it this way so it's very pretty, and it seems very easy. It's actually not, but a lot of that is just misunderstanding, and also for you. To be very, very specific about what you want, about almost every detail. And then sometimes there has to be a give and take about what is available. And, they don't want to pay for any tooling for you because you're so small. You're a piece of shit. So, and I don't mean that like personally. I just mean like that's they only want to do things for like big companies, like a famous brand. Like for a famous brand, they walk in, and they're willing to spend at least $100,000 on just one product, one SKU. They're going to take them out to dinner. They're going to get, you're going to get massages from young women or young boys, whatever you prefer. But they're going to bend over backwards to try to land you as a client. And so that's a different experience than what somebody like me or you is going to experience when trying to develop a product. Again, you want to try to find something that's already in the wheelhouse of what you want. This is another way to do it with ceramic. And then, if you don't like black, you can put, do a chrome or a gunmetal or an anodized red or something like that. And you can do that with any of this stuff. But again, what they're going to do is they're going to ask for quantities. And so you may have to do a 100-piece quantity, a 500-piece quantity, and it's going to take a lot of money. So, but I'll see you guys in the live stream. Love you.